Hello and welcome to the Gallant Few Rangers podcast. My name's Colin and I'll be your host as always. Joining me tonight, all the way for the Big Smoke, Mason Stewart. Mason, welcome back. Do you have a nice Christmas, mate?
Yeah, thanks for having me back on. Great Christmas, really nice. 3 points on Boxing Day helped. But yeah, it was really good. The only disappointing thing, we've got no games now to look forward to the 18th. So, but you know, it was a good time with the family and looking forward to the new year.
Good man. And we've got another Gallant Few debut tonight. Made his debut on pod, Chris Paul. Chris, thanks for coming on. Tell the listeners about yourself.
Cheers, Colin. Thanks very much for inviting me on. So 33 from Greenock, Inverclyde. Been following Rangers since probably I was about 4 or 5. Birth probably, to be honest, but 4 or 5. First game at Ibrox was Alloa, Scottish Cup, 1994-95 season. They beat them 6-0. Alan McCoist with a hat-trick. So that was my first game and followed sort of, you know, most of my kind of childhood, went to different games and stuff. And as I get into sort of teenage years and a bit older, obviously started going with your mates, your friends, family or whatever. Been following home, away in Europe for then really. One of the founders of the Greenock Britannia Rangers Supporters Club. So that's our bus down in Inverclyde. It's pretty much like everybody else that's probably listening to us. It's a way of life, isn't it? It's following Rangers and supporting Rangers. So if there's one thing I can talk about all day, it's Glasgow Rangers Football Club. So looking forward to being part of the podcast and talking about things today with Rangers.
Happy days, and brilliant to have you on as well. And another official Rangers day as well. Good to see you bringing the boys up in the right way.
Oh, definitely. I mean, my youngest, he's only 2, but because my missus had to go Christmas shopping, I actually had to take my youngest along to the Dundee United game just before Christmas. So he's actually been to Ibrox already. But my oldest, he's 12 and he's sort of ways home, away, Europe if he can. He's came to Porto with me and stuff. So he follows alongside me in the footsteps, which is great.
Good man. Maybe once he gets into second or third year, he'll be on this podcast as well.
Maybe.
So this should have been a football packed podcast. Should have had huddles to talk about with the initial December fixtures, but the new restrictions have made good work of that. Thankfully, we did get one game in, Rangers 2-0 win over St Mirren, so we'll talk about that before we get into the old men shouting at clouds, SPFL bashing. Mate, so I'll come with you first. You know, with the lineup, we went with a pretty strong forward-thinking lineup. I don't want to sound as if I'm saying this with hindsight, but going into this game, there was never any worries, and we made good work of that, didn't we?
Yeah, it was very routine, keeping the 0, as Van Bronckhorst likes to say. But no, it was comfortable. I think it was just a case of them games of just getting the first goal. Once we get the first goal, it's a case of how many. But it was very controlled, and we could have see today 25 shots on goal, so it could have been a lot more. But one thing I've noticed about Van Bronckhorst is the games are very, very controlled. Instead of going to get 3, 4, and 5, he's quite content in just in keeping a clean sheet. So no, some good performances, and another clean sheet and another 3 points.
Chris Mason makes a good point there about just getting the 3 points and being comfortable. It's a bit of a hard one because the wee boy football fan in you, when you're 2-0 up early on or whatever, you want to go and pummel teams 7, 8, 9. You want the high scoring games, but for a manager, you want to preserve the energy. You know, just do the bare minimum, I suppose, and get over the line.
Yeah. No, I agree, and I think one of the words that you used there, Mason, was controlled, and I think that's pretty much what we've saw under Gio since he's came in. I think he's made some subtle tweaks to the team, some subtle tweaks to the formation. I think against St Mirren we saw Tavernier playing a wee bit inside, sort of full back, inverted, and I think that created chances for us. So I'm quite enjoying watching how Gio's sort of trying to make those changes to benefit us. But the most important thing, as you say, is keeping a zero, as Gio keeps talking about, and it's obviously something that he's big on. And I think, we obviously made jokes about it in my friendship group anyway, about letting teams just have that first goal under Gerrard towards the end, because that's the way it was. It was give them that goal so we can start. And we actually made a joke about it before the Ross County game at Ibrox, not knowing that it was actually going to happen as well. So I think I've been impressed without a doubt in terms of how he's been able to steady that very quickly. Obviously the Hibs game, the game at Hampden, which we don't want to talk about too much, but we were atrocious that day, and for him to come in and do what he's done is unbelievable. And keeping the clean sheets, as we know, that's going to win his games. It was crucial for his last year in the league as we went towards it. In games like Boxing Day against St Mirren, you just need to do what you need to do. As you say, Mason, taking that. I think when you get that first goal, I was quite confident we would go on and maybe get a couple more. If you're going to have a slight criticism, it might be trying to go for 3 or 4, but see, at the end of the day, winning 2-0's, it's ideal. So I'm happy with that. And St Mirren, as we saw on the Wednesday night against them, they're stuffy, and they can be difficult to break down. So, not overall, I was quite happy with it. And again, I was quite happy with seeing Scott Wright coming on and doing well. I think he'll do well under Gio, because it's a bit of a different system. So far, so good. And we go into the winter break looking good.
Just that man there, Scott Wright, then, as good a point as any to talk about him. Mason, I'll come to you first. Scott Wright, it's a bit of a weird one for me, because I think he's, that there's bags of potential there, and he's still very much as a prospect. I do see him featuring in the first team, so it's a bit like your Nathan Patterson. He's good enough to be in the first team, and he's on there in merit, but he's going to go a lot further. I was delighted to see him get that start. I think with Gio's system, Gio really likes wide wingers instead of this inverted tens or whatever Gerrard used to call it. So I think there will be game time for him there. Great to see him pop up with a goal as well.
Yeah, I thought you had a really good game Saturday. I've since Van Bronckhorst has come in, I've really wanted to see Wright play, just because we play with high and wide proper wingers, something we never done under Gerrard. So I was a bit surprised actually when we signed him for that reason, because I watched him against us for Aberdeen, and he is a proper winger. And then when we signed him, I thought, why are we getting a player that we don't play like that? So I was a bit surprised. I think he's got to really kick on now. I think we're going to come to talk about transfers a bit later, but I would like to see us go and buy a right winger. But look, it's a great chance for Scott Wright. I thought he done really well when he came on against Dundee United week before. He probably changed the game for us, because I thought he'd give us something that Kent weren't doing on the day. But no, Scott Wright's got to hold down that place and at least fight for it. One thing I've not been a fan of is Hadji playing there, because he's not a winger. So yeah, Scott Wright's got to kick on.
Aye, and I think Van Bronckhorst must know that about Hadji, where he's not got the pace to play out wide either, especially in that formation, and he just doesn't look comfortable. Even Hadji's press conference a few weeks ago, it was almost like it wasn't much of a hint. He was labouring the point. He's just like, he's won a shot in the inside in the number 10 role, but it's just unfortunate for him that one of the standouts of the season, Joe Aribo, is winning that number 10 role. But I think it may actually help Hadji in a way if we do get somebody who can go into that wide right. So we've got Wright, Sakala, potentially somebody coming in January. We'll get to that later, but it might just let Hadji focus on being one of the number 10 options, whether that's coming off for Joe Aribo or when we're resting him, or even pushing Aribo for his place.
I just on the Hadji bit, can I come in there on the Hadji bit?
Go for it.
I think we Wright, what Wright's problem is, and I agree with you, Mason, 100%. When we signed him, I was thinking it doesn't fit with what we play, because we're always, 9 times out of 10 in Scotland, we're playing against that block. We're obviously where you're not getting the space in behind, and I think that's probably what Jordan Jones' issue was, amongst maybe other issues as well. But I think, it just wasn't fitting for him in terms of the system. And I always felt Wright had different parts to his game that he could bring in. I think we're obviously seeing that now. So I'm hopeful that he can take it on, because, as you say, he changed the game against Dundee United and obviously had a really good game there. It's just about hopefully trying to kick on. But I think under Gio's system, where if we are going to start seeing the fullbacks a wee bit more inverted as well, it's going to open up a bit of space naturally for a winger. So I'm looking forward to seeing how Wright fits into the system. But certainly, if I was Scott Wright, I would be feeling a lot better under Gio than I was under Gerrard. Although Gerrard signed him, I think he's certainly going to be feeling that he's going to get more game time, because it certainly looks like that for the stands anyway. But so far so good. And on the point of Hadji, he get the man of the match in the Dundee United game. I've no idea how he got that. But out wide right, it just doesn't work for him. But as we saw, as you say, and that wee hole in the middle, he's dangerous and he can create chances. So looking forward to seeing Wright, as I say, in that winger role.
So Scott Wright made it 1-0 up. Good. He managed to get the second ball at the corner. Bit of scrappy goal, but they all count. Alfredo Morelos made it 2-0 up in the first half as well. So I really like this goal, Mason. Good ball into Borna Barisic. Morelos gets in the end of it, and keeper saves it. But it's just not quite like the goal against Dundee a few weeks ago. But Morelos is just sharp on it, gets the rebound. But in terms of comparing it to the Dundee goal, it was just determined to get there, and he's just bulldozing onto that ball.
Yeah, he was our best player for me. I know we mentioned Wright, who had a really good game, but I thought Morelos was. He could have had, if we'd been critical, he could have had 3 or 4. But one thing I think last time I was on the pod, I said Morelos needs to. It was after the Hearts game. I said Morelos needs to kick on and find the level. And to be honest with you, I think I think there's a little bit left, but he's getting there. And yeah, he's just so determined to score the goal. But what a ball from Barisic! That's something we haven't seen from him actually the last. Probably since Gio's come in, I think he's been a lot better. But I think the whole team has. But Barisic, once he gets a yard of space, he's the best at that. It's a great ball and good save, to be fair, from Amwick. But Morelos smashes it in. And then it's game over. But no, I've been really, really impressed with Morelos under Van Bronckhorst, and his stats speak for himself since he's come in.
I agree. I think he's been brilliant. Like, just in terms of, it's just a different player. Like, it just looks totally different. I think he's maybe been asked to play a different role, to be honest. But even looking at him, and it's sometimes hard to see it when you're actually at the games, but I think looking at the pictures for the weekend, for the Boxing Day game, he looks trimmer as well. He looks sharper. He looks as if he's lost a wee bit, which hopefully he's not put on over Christmas. But hopefully he looks sharper and he looks fitter. And I think he's been asked. I think Gio made that quite clear actually. He will play as a striker. He will be your striker. And I think that's pretty obvious for what we saw. And then he absolutely smashed that ball in the back of the net, didn't he? He could have tapped it in, but I think he got the frustration out. And as you say, his numbers for Gio's come in has been great. And I was kind of touching on this with one of my mates, and I was saying, if we're going to get the sort of third of the season where Morelos is unbelievable from now till the end of March, it's the league, wrapped up. Because if we can get that off him, which we know he's got it in the locker to provide it and deliver it, if he does that, then it's game over for everybody, because he really is. He makes points, he can win you games and stuff. So it's been good to see the wee fella, because he's obviously a fan's favourite, and he's got a lot of people. The fans are right behind him. But he was well out of shape the first half of the season, and he was miles off it. But he's done well to turn it around, and hopefully, that's a sign of things to come as well. I think it probably helps that Gio, Roy Mackay and that can speak obviously fluent Spanish. I think that would probably help with him as well. So no, so far so good with Morelos, and hopefully he keeps going.
What you mentioned there about Morelos being miles off it, for me it wasn't just physically. I think it's a double-edged sword when Alfie's no feeling it. He's not feeling up to it. He's fucking woeful, and he's the biggest enigma ever. But when you get him in the right frame of mind, everything else falls in. So I dare say, getting him in the right frame of mind, gets his fits and stuff, he gets his determination, he gets his performance levels, and Gio's managed to find that. It might have just been, as you say, Alfie always has this tremendous third of a season. It might have just been fall in November, December this time round, or it might have been something that Gio's done. Either way, I'm all for it. But you can tell he's game for it, and that's the Morelos we love. When he falls away for that, and he's just kind of picking his arse and waiting for half time to go and tan his Haribo, that's when he can be very frustrating. Just because when he's on his game how much he can give to the team.
Yeah, just on that though, we'll pick out Morelos because I think he's the easy one, and I agree with everything you both said there. But I think the whole team's been like that. You look at McGregor now as well, and I think it was the double save. Was it? I can't remember if it was Hearts or it might have been the Dundee game after that. But he weren't making them saves before. As you said, we were conceding the first goal, so I think it goes through the whole team. I think looking at it now, I think Gio coming in, it's a new voice, fresh ideas, and I think it's helped everyone. And I don't think if Gerrard was still here in December, we win every game. The way we were playing, I didn't see that happening.
I think 99% of Rangers fans could see the first third of the season that something had to spark in this team, something had to re-energise it. And I for one, I compare it to last season where I thought it was going to be the Motherwell game or like a single game where a good performance goes in. Turns out it was a change of manager, something as drastic as that, but it's happened anyway. And you're right, Mason, we found that spark, and the big thing is now it just continues on at the end of the season. So into the second half, and I don't think we'll go through every single chance because Mason, you said we had about 25 shots on goal. I think Davey Paul touched on last week's pod that it's good to see we're creating these chances again. Chris, I'll come to you for this. Is it? I suppose there's two ways of looking at it. Yes, we are creating the chances, but we're not taking them as of yet, or is it just good that we're creating the chances again? We're starting to get the goals, and this flurry of goals will start coming.
I think we need to be relatively patient with the fact that it's a new manager and a new setup. I think there is obviously subtle tweaks that he's making, and I think although I'm not a fan of getting into the winter break early, I do think that will give Gio a good opportunity to work on the players in terms of the movement. He's actually been speaking about that, I think, just after the St Mirren game about looking at different ways of playing and different ways of breaking down teams, playing against different shapes. So I think we'll probably be able to judge it better. Even probably need to wait till next season, fully. But I think it's good we're getting into positions. We're creating chances. I think under Gerrard, and listen, I was disappointed. Obviously, when Gerrard left, I'm not going to say I wasn't, but I think under Gerrard it definitely became a wee bit stale and predictable, and sort of one-paced. Whereas now, I think that there's definitely more chances being created from different areas. And I think that's the big bit I think that we need to take from that. You touched on that, Mason, about McGregor. He's playing the one keeper all the time now, and I think that's massively important. So that's going to be better for keeping the clean sheet. And McGregor's saves have been unbelievable, but if we're taking two chances and we're not conceding, we're going to win, But I think it's looking good. I think that in terms of moving forward, I think we've got different options. You've obviously got Sakala as well, who's a different option coming on. And you touched on Aribo. Unbelievable. His goal at Hearts was unbelievable as well. So I think it's just about being patient with the team, obviously, moving forward. I think if Morelos is getting into that vein of form that we say he's going to do, you've got to remember as well, Kent just come back to the team recently as well. So there's key players that are just sort of finding their feet again after probably struggling for the first part of the season. So I'm not overly concerned about, the amount of goals, because I think that will be dealt with as we move forward. We've got enough players there. They've got enough in the locker, and I think that they can do that. And then particularly if we start making tweaks and changes to the team, like as I said with Tavernier on Saturday, he had a few chances on the Boxing Day game. He had a few chances just by changing position. So no, I'm not worried about it, and I think that's something that Gio will definitely be working on over the winter break and making sure that we've been a wee bit more clinical with our chances, because it could have been 5 or 6 against St Mirren if we're going to be honest.
So speaking about this infamous winter break, Mason, I know you're based down south, and you will still watch tentatively up here for Rangers, but in case you don't know, we do things after elbow up here when it comes to organising football, which is how we run our game. It's a very self-loathing country up here, Bonnie, Scotland. So the winter break in general comes about 4 weeks before the worst part of winter comes. Makes total sense. But decision was made with the Scottish Government to only allow 500 fans into the football games, and the SPFL went to the board, went to the member clubs, and they take a 10-2 vote that we should bring forward the winter break. So, what's your thoughts on that? As both a Rangers fan and kind of an Englishman looking in.
Well, obviously, as a Rangers, he's gutted because we're playing, as we've just gone through the game there. Everyone's hitting form at the right time, so we're going away to probably, arguably, the 2 toughest away games in really good shape. We haven't got too many injuries. Everyone's not fit, as you keep reading in the media that everyone's fit. We have still got a few players out, but we're going. I had no doubt that we would have gone there, fans or no fans, that we'd have gone and got 6 points. And I think that for us is the most frustrating thing. Whereas the other side of the city are struggling with injuries and COVID outbreak, and it's just the timing for me stinks a little bit. I've got to be honest. But I just can't understand, as you said, like down here, everyone's. All my mates have said I'm based in Essex, a place in Essex where everyone's West Ham, and my fiance and her family and my mates are all West Ham, and they was all at the London Stadium on Boxing Day. Before they left, I'm talking to them and they're watching the St Mirren, the St Johnstone game on Sky against them, and there was no one there. So they're saying, "What's happening? Why is there a stadium shut?" And we're all going and there's 60,000 there. So England's a bigger country. It's just, honestly, I can't get my head around it. None of it makes sense. We were saying what the Loudon or other pubs are going to be full to watch the game, but outdoors, you're not. It's honestly, it's crazy, and it stinks a little bit, if I've got to be honest. And then Doncaster did say as well that there's no, we get all, as you said about the weather. The weather's just going to get worse. Do you know what I mean? So, and there's no fixtures space left, to play it. It's honestly, I can't get my head around it. And then another one was to put the Old Firm game on a Wednesday night. Who thinks these things up? I can't understand it at all, to be honest with you.
Just on that Old Firm game, Police Scotland must have been having a great time reading that announcement, but that's the announcement came, not the announcement, but they're saying, giving caution that we might not even have fans back in for the Old Firm game. And I made the point last week that I totally get to prioritise having fans in the stadium for these games because it's a fan sport. But where you can't guarantee in 3 weeks' time that we will be in, we may as well just play the games. And I hate to say I told you so to Graham Campbell last week, but I do.
I think it's, for me, just, you knew it was coming. You knew that we were obviously talking about what was going to happen. You knew something was going to change based on the noises that you were hearing. From a Rangers perspective, it's not good timing for us. We were happy to continue on and play the games. From a personal perspective, I was meant to be going to the Aberdeen game. Managed to get myself some tickets to go to that. Was planning a great wee day out, just similar to what your mates were doing, Mason, on Boxing Day. Was planning that for what was happening, and it just obviously been taken away. So from a personal point of view, it was a sore one. But I just think it doesn't make sense for me because the reality is, these cases and whatever else, without getting into the whole COVID thing, it's unlikely to get better in a couple of weeks' time. If the whole pandemic previous has taught us that 2 or 3 weeks a break on something, isn't going to cause it. And the reality is, as you say, the pubs and that would have been full, with people watching the games. So it just doesn't make sense because the reality is, in 3 weeks' time, they've not organised an Old Firm for a Wednesday with the expectancy of 60,000 people at it. I think they know the reality of the situation and they're starting to drip feed that to us. So it's disappointing because you want to be going to the games, but I sort of worry about the rest of the season in terms of 2 or 3 weeks' time when they make a further decision. What are they going to do? Are they going to continue stalling it? Are they going to make it? Are they going to play it? There's this myth that kicks about that Rangers are only good behind closed doors. We've been amazing this season at different points. We've only been beat once, in the league. So as a bit of a myth that we don't do well in front of a crowd. But, it's just frustrating. And I just worry about the further decisions. And it's certainly, in terms of Celtic, it suits them down to a T. Because I think initially they were talking about the impact of the fans, and then the next post-match interview, their manager's talking about looking forward to getting his best players back and getting people fit again. So I think there was definitely an agenda getting pushed there. But what can we do? The only positive I can see from this is that it gives Gio a couple of weeks, extra to work with the squad, which I think he will appreciate, and I think the players will. But certainly from a football fan perspective, I don't really see what the point was even making any changes to it. But we'll see where it goes, as you say, Colin. It's a country that loathes itself, and it can't take any good. Even watching Sky Sports, you're watching the darts at Ali Pali, and the crowd is absolutely mental. And then as you say, you've got that game on the TV with 500 people in. So it doesn't make sense, but pretty much like most of the pandemic, a lot of decisions don't actually make a lot of sense when it comes to the football. But we just see what happens when it comes. But I'm sure the players will be ready when the time comes to get back in. As long as they don't go to Dubai, we'll be happy with that.
Oh, fuck no. That's a banned word in this podcast.
Let them go there, though. Let them go there.
Aye.
But Mason, I think Chris, like the point Chris touched on there, about Gio having time on the pitch. I think we do need to look at any sort of positives, and this will be a massive one, because I think, and we've said that we've seen the tweaks that Gio's brought in, and the players have taken really well to it, and it's suiting the players and the talent we have. He's not made any wholesale changes to how we set up, but enough to see a difference. So do you see these next 3 weeks, what's that look like? Is that just more of the same, small changes here and there, or do you really see Gio getting his stamp on it, we're doing something completely different?
I think. Look, we've got to take the positives out. At the same time, I said a few weeks ago that we'd be more than 4 points clear by the time we played them, and we are with 6 points now. So pressure's all on them chasing. You know what I mean? So for us, we can hopefully get Hollander fit as well. It gives us more time. I know Bassey's been brilliant at centre half, but in my opinion, I said previously, Hollander for me is the best centre back at the club. So I think it's really important going into them games that we have him as well. So I think that would be a big positive for us. And yeah, it gives Van Bronckhorst, how many days has he had on the training ground? I think we had 8 days between the Dundee United game to St Mirren. I think that's the longest he would have had with the players to be on the training ground. So it's perfect timing for him to go in. And I don't expect us to be any different. Maybe a couple of things a little bit different, but it also gives players that have not had a lot of game time, your Bakunas, Lundströms, that we're going to need. We're going to need players because we're going to pick up more injuries and suspensions. But for him to have a look at them in training as well and think, right, he's at it. And take their chance when it comes. I think Aberdeen's the next game, so maybe there'll be a surprise in there for that one.
Yeah, so leading on to what other changes we might see, it's obviously the January transfer window is now open. This is when everybody in their granny is linked with every player. There's a podcast in itself for the best bullshit headlines. Like I remember when Paul Le Guen became the manager, Zinedine Zidane and Sidney Govey were going to join Rangers, even though Zidane had retired. But that's for a later date. Chris, I'll come to you first. So before we look at the transfers that could potentially come in, we've got a lot of talent on this Rangers side. So out with Brandon Barker, who are you most fear of losing this window?
We can't be losing Barker, no chance. I think the fear one for me is definitely Aribo. I think if we can't lose him, I think he would be too hard to replace. There isn't anybody I think that can. I know we're talking about Hadji maybe filling in that 10 position, but I don't think he does it as well as Aribo, if we're going to be honest. And particularly this season, Aribo's took his game up a level. I mean, realistic to understand that Aribo probably does want to go down to the Premier League and try it out. He's obviously came up here to accelerate his development and do well, and he's done amazing. I mean, to look at him from when he came in the door to now, it's a different player altogether. So I would be surprised if there was any interest for Aribo from elsewhere. but I really don't want to lose him in January. I think he's crucial to what we do, and hopefully he wants to stay and see the season out. But reality is every player in football's get a price. I would probably say out with Aribo. I think probably teams will be interested in Kamara if you read, some of the press links and stuff. And again, if anything, we've saw under Gio, that's his go-to man for that defensive mid role. So I think Kamara would certainly be a loss. But if you had Ryan Jack fit, which obviously is not always the case, I was actually talking about this today. You wouldn't actually be as gutted with Kamara going because you would have somebody else there. But that's not the case. So I think those two. But the name that keeps flying up as a potential link is this obviously Nathan Patterson one to potentially Everton. So I've got a lot of admiration for Patterson. He's a cracking player. I think he's going to do well in his career, but I just can't see him kind of get taken to have away for that right back slot. So I think if we get people are talking 12 to 15 million, if you're talking about that coming in, then that Tav's probably going to still be a right back anyway. So you couldn't blame him. But I think those three are probably the ones that will probably be the bigger names. But I do think under the radar, Gio will be probably looking to try and get rid of a few, get them off the wage bill and maybe look to make a few moves himself. But certainly hanging on to Aribo for me is massive.
Just on Aribo, I think if Aribo was to see out the next 6 months and perform the way he has performed, he should get Player of the Year up here. How Rangers get to 56. That's exactly the player model that we want to see. Bring somebody in cheap, full of talent, and didn't pay too much for him. It was just a compensation fee, a wee bit more on wages. But he's a role model for how we want to develop players because he's a completely different talent from what we signed. And then he'll get a big money move. That's it's brilliant for Rangers. Because we brought impact to it, we've got our money's worth and more, and then we get a decent sell-on fee, but also shows players like out with Scotland and England and abroad that Rangers is a club that you can come to and get a big move, and we need to be realistic. That has to be a big selling point. I just hope it doesn't fucking happen in January. Sorry, if you can see it to the summer, then perfect. Fairy tale story in terms of signing. Mason, this was mentioned about Nathan Patterson there, and it is such a hard one because I'm in the camp that he doesn't get anywhere near James Tavernier right now. I'm not to say he won't develop into a better player. I think he will eventually. Won't much better than James Tavernier, but he's just not there right now. In terms of him going down to Everton, we're looking at it from a Rangers fans' point of view. For the English clubs, and Nathan Patterson himself, does he get a game for Everton right now? Is that a good move if you're an Everton fan?
Well, I used to be a fan of. I think Seamus Coleman was always a solid right back for Everton, but I watched him a couple of weeks ago I watched Everton, to be fair. They're not in great nick at the minute, but watched him against Palace and he had an absolute man. I think he's done. I've got no doubt that if Patterson goes down, I think it's probably a good move for him in terms of I think he gets more game time in front of Coleman than he does in front of Tavernier. Put it that way. But I'd be gutted. I agree with Chris. I'd be really gutted to see him go. But if we get 15 million bidding in Jan, then I think he's away. I mean, Tavernier for me, he's not going anywhere soon. I think I can see him staying there he's in good shape. Unless he gets a bad injury, he's going to be Rangers right back for another 3-4 years. So Patterson's not going to get the game time, and gutted because I think he's going to be a right good player. What is he, 19, 20, and he's Scotland's number one right back. Not just number one right back, but you watch him for Scotland, and he's one of their better players. So, but if we can get 15 million, I think in a couple of years we'll get more. I think if we can get in the Champions League and we can play in the Champions League and we get the kind of price that Arsenal paid for Tierney, and I do believe that. But I think Patterson, you got English coming in for you. They're gonna quadruple his wages, and he's probably guaranteed more game time at Everton, which is mad. But how, I had this debate with my dad and my granddad today. How can you take Tavernier out of our side? The numbers he gets weak. And I know defensively he does make up some mistakes, but since Van Bronckhorst coming, I think he looks more settled. As you said, Chris Elliott coming inside right. If we play with a proper winger, that could be another another position for him to go and play. So if I was to lose anyone, and I think someone will go this window. I think that, especially if stadiums are going to be shut for a lot longer as well, that's going to be a big factor for us. We sold no one in the summer. So at the minute, as sad as I would seem to go, out of Kamara, Aribo and Patterson, if I'm being honest, Patterson, as long as the price is right, it would make the most sense.
Yeah, and I think there's a few things that maybe, from a fan point of view, is leading down that dark path that he might go. First point, the Rangers board are rightly or wrongly, they have their price that they will sell somebody for, and they're not fucking budging at all. And we've seen that with Morelos, seen that with Patterson in the summer. So I don't think we'll get bullied into getting lowballed. But in terms of Patterson going down and getting game time, I think Billy Gilmore's got a lot to answer for, because now if you're coming through the Rangers Academy or any academy in Scotland, if you have enough belief in your talent, you look at Billy Gilmore, and he was on the verge of the Chelsea team. He's now, well, I know Norwich fans are mental, but that's probably because they're all brothers and sisters, Mary. I hope they don't have anybody in Norwich listening. But Billy Gilmore's that example that, you don't need to go to League One, then the Championship, then the Premier League. If you're confident in your ability, you can go down and play there. And I think if you're native in Patterson right now, you'd be mad not to fancy your chances at a club like Everton.
Without a doubt. I mean, I think Everton are a massive club. I've got a few pals that are Everton fans, long-suffering Everton fans, and they're obviously devastated with Rafa Benitez being there. They say that it's just as bad as Neil Lennon coming to us, but I doubt it. But I think they're devastated at that point, and I've watched them as well, Mason, at times, and they've been poor at points, but then at different points, actually, they started off all right. But I think Patterson, for me, without a doubt, what I says to them was he's good enough. He's certainly good enough to go down there and get a bash. And you don't just see it with us. You see it when he is playing for Scotland. You can see it. And I just think he needs that opportunity. He needs to be playing games. And I think you saw it even with Gio. I think Gio's obviously saw the talent, and he's tried to bring him on at right wing and that at different points, obviously, to try and see if there's a way you can shoehorn him in. And his biggest issue at Rangers is nothing to do with his ability. It's just the fact that it's the captain, Tavernier, that's ahead of him. If he played in any other position, you're seeing him getting a lot more game time. But no, I think he's good enough. And he would get, all the best wishes, I think, for myself. I'd be absolutely gutted if we sold him for, less than the numbers that we're talking about. And I would be gutted if we never put a sell-on fee on, because I think he's definitely at levels, I think, Patterson. But we'll see obviously how it goes and how it goes in January. But I do agree with Mason. I think somebody will go in January, just as long as it's not Aribo.
Well, the one as well is is Goldson. He can sign for nothing, can't he? For clubs in the next couple of days. So it'd be one that. If someone comes in 2-3 million, what do we do there? Do you know what I mean? We've got a lot of people would say, "Oh no, we need to keep him to win the league." But if we get that kind of money coming, £3 million, and we can go and replace him, then that could be another one to watch this window.
I think it would be. I just think in terms of what we saw with Goldson for Gio's came back in, maybe Goldson. Pre-Gio, you would be thinking, where is his head at? But certainly he looks a lot more focused just now. I would be concerned if we sold him, to be honest, in January, because it unsettles, potentially what we've got. And we're scrapping just now for a centre-back, but we would need to replace him, obviously. But it'll be interesting. It's a good point, though, to see what he does with his contract now, because obviously it's been rumbling on. Probably won't get resolved anytime soon. But I think it'll be interesting to see what Rangers do if they do get a bid in, though, as you say, for a couple of million, 2-3 million. What Gio thinks, obviously. But Goldson, he's another one that can kind of split the fans at different points, can't he? Some of his decisions is baffling sometimes, but he really is, I think, the rock in that defence when he's on his game. But I agree again with you mentioned about your point about Helander. I think he's the best defender at the club, but obviously his injuries. So it'll be interesting to see if that does get somebody tries to put a bid in for him to try and Aston Villa, for example, maybe try and come in and take him for a couple of million. But I would like to see him see his contract out, because I think he's going to be important for the rest of the season. But we'll see how that one develops.
I can't believe none of us are comfortable with Bassey and Simpson starting at centre half. I think he's an absolute complete pessimist. I've made my feelings known, but the more serious note, that coming on to the two names that we were going to talk about potential coming in, one is a centre half, John Souttar. So Mason, you actually brought him up on a pod a couple of weeks ago, and I think my issue with John Souttar right now is he doesn't get in ahead of Golson, Helander or Balogun. But I think we need to be a bit more pragmatic right now, because Golson may go, Helander and Balogun may be cause a concern for injury. So I think it's take a punt and go for John Souttar, who I do think is a decent centre half at this level. It's just not better than what we have. So do we go for a John Souttar, or do we look to bring Katic back? Where are you sitting with this?
I'm actually a fan of Souttar. I know yourself and Graham, who was on a couple of weeks ago, wasn't too keen, but I think he's actually really good with his ball at his feet, which is something you don't say about a Scottish centre half. And he's good in the air. I think for the money that it would take to get John Souttar, and you've just said there, with Simpson and Bassey at the minute as cover. Now, Bassey's been brilliant. He might be a centre half for years to come. The way he's performed, he's still young, he's strong, he's good in the air, and he's got a really good left foot. And I think that's actually what's good for us at the minute is we've got, when Helander comes back as well, he plays on the left-hand side, but you've got Golson who can hit balls that way, and he's really good at it. And you can Bassey who can play out quick with his left foot as well. But I think John Souttar would suit us, and for the money it would cost. Scottish as well. If we get in the Champions League, we're going to need more Scottish-based players. I think it's a no-brainer. If we can shift Jack Simpson this window, I would go and get John Souttar. Yeah, definitely.
Chris, I think for me, I'd be more than comfortable with a Helander Souttar partnership, for example, if we guarantee Helander's fitness. But I don't know, is it a case that you need a Souttar and a first name in the team sheet centre half if Golson goes?
It would be interesting to see if I would like us to go for Souttar, to be honest. I think for loads of points with the Scottish link, obviously, and he's in terms of trying to get him in that Champions League squad. We're going to need players that obviously have been through Scottish teams, but I watch him for Hearts. I don't watch Hearts all the time, but I watch him for Hearts, and sometimes he looks really, really good, really, really composed, and other times he gets kind of caught, and a wee bit ball watching, maybe not to the levels of Ryan Porteous does, but certainly kind of gets caught, maybe watching the ball. So I think there's obviously, he's not a complete package, but I think I would take him still. I think if, especially on the cheap, on free transfers or whatever, I think that would be a good shout. My only worry with Souttar is his injuries, is the kind of injury history. And it's been big injuries, isn't it? It's been ones that's kept him out for a bit and reoccurring ones. So I think that would probably be the big question mark over Souttar. But, like we say, it's not as if you're going to be going out and spending, your 4 or 5 million or whatever to try and bring him in. Bit of a no-brainer for me. I think the best Rangers teams that we've watched, under Walter Smith, and they've always picked up the sort of best of the rest players in the rest of the league to kind of bulk up the squad. And I think that would be a smart move if we went for him. Whether or not that's your sort of number one, number two centre half, I'm not sure. But certainly we should be. I'd imagine we'll be doing planning for Golson leaving now. And if Souttar's that plan, Souttar and Helander for me sounds all right, to be honest. Souttar and Simpson, no, not so much. It's not Simpson bashing, but certainly he's not got it. To make the grade at Rangers. I think we saw that on a number of occasions. But I would be happy with Souttar.
With Souttar, it's only fair to call it, he's still relatively young for a centre half as well. He's 25, and I think you've kind of sold it there, Chris, with mentioning his injury. It's the most Rangers thing in the world to sign an injury-prone player. It's just written in the stats. It goes hand in hand with the red, white, and blue. So no doubt he'll be here in January now. That you mentioned that. So other name we'll come on to before we wrap up. I'll be honest, Mason, I don't know too much about this guy other than the hype that I've heard about with media and other Rangers podcasts. The boy looks like somebody you'd sign on Football Manager. He's got a cracking Barnet. PSG wonder kid, Javi Simon.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I've never seen him. I can't say I've watched a lot of PSG youth, but yeah, he's got a lot of pedigree. There's some big clubs after him as well. I think it would be exciting. But I don't know what kind of wages he'd want, and would it be a loan or, I'm not too sure. But if he does come in, then it'll be interesting because I think he is a number 10. Unless I think I read he was a number 10, so that would be interesting in terms of Aribo and how that would does Aribo go back to the 8, or what happens there. But yeah, to me it's actually quite exciting from someone from a different market. I think Van Bronckhorst will be looking. I don't think he'll be looking down south at all, to be honest. I think Holland and Denmark are going to be two places that Van Bronckhorst will be looking in. So it is exciting. But yeah, Xavi Simons, I can't give you a lowdown on him, to be honest.
I think what's interesting about this is most of the reports have came from foreign papers or foreign news outlets, so primarily the French and Dutch. So it makes you think there might be something to that there is interest, but going back to the Rangers shortlist of players, they plan for every possible eventuality, and this shortlist of players should be 120 players deep. So if Rangers have initiated contact, that could be as much as how much of his wages. Oh, fuck, never mind. That's contact. Chris, I think if anything, realistically, it might be a loan would maybe get him for 6 months, just with the kind of hype around this guy and the clubs that are interested in him. Do you know much about him?
No, I don't personally. But when I had obviously spoke with my son when we were getting linked to him, he told me he was a wonder kid on FIFA Football Manager. So that's it. He's going to be the next Freddie Adu. But I think I don't know much about the boy, to be honest. But I agree with Mason. I think we'll be seeing different markets getting explored under Gio, and I'm all for that because he'll be trying to kind of dip into, and the boy's Dutch, isn't he, if I'm right, yeah. the boy. So we've obviously got a wee bit of a link there, which might put us ahead. Gio's probably, as soon as the contact was made about the job, he's probably get plans in his head right away about, first and foremost, the squad that's there, but who can I bring in? So I wouldn't be surprised if he's been making moves already, behind the scenes to try and see what's happening. But no, it'd be exciting, I think, to bring somebody like that in, particularly if they're, one of the next big things or whatever. And if we manage to get them, then great. But we'll just need to. I don't know much about him, to be honest with you. It's a shame that I know more about John Souttar than I know about this boy, but I suppose that's Scottish football for you. But no, if he's got that potential there, what a club to come and fulfil it at. Even for a couple of years. We've done no bad when we've signed boys for sort of that have played in PSG before. We are tight on the link, so I think it'll be interesting to see if we can get that one over the line. But as you say, that the interesting part for me is it's not coming for the Scottish press. It's coming for the European one. So there's definitely something in it. How much legs it's got, I suppose we'll find out in the next few weeks. But I'd imagine we'll be getting linked to all sorts of names shortly.
Silly season is about to begin. So I think that's as good a time as any to wrap it up for the last podcast of the year. Before we do, just a thanks for my two guests coming on. Mason, thank you, and tell the listeners what you're wishing for in 2022.
56. Easy, 56. And actually, a Hampden final win would be nice as well, because I can't remember the last time. I was young. But no, yeah, thanks for having me on again, Colin, and nice to meet you, Chris. Great input, and I hope everyone has a really good New Year.
Chris, a solid debut, as Mason said. Thanks very much for coming on. Any well wishes for 2022?
I just say no thanks, guys. Cheers for the chance to come on, talk about Rangers. We enjoyed it. mixing up the sort of festive period's been good to come on and chat about it. For myself, no, same. Just Rangers doing what Rangers do. Hopefully starting to kick on in the January after we come back. Hopefully get the crowds back in. You know, it's massive going to Ibrox, you know, every couple of weeks and getting to those away days when you get the tickets in. So it's huge, you know, and for that to be taken away, I hope that's not the case moving forward. So onwards and upwards in the next year. But cheers for letting us on, guys.
And last but not least at all, thank you to everybody who's listening, not just tonight, all the way throughout the last year. It's been a tough year for everybody. Really appreciate all your support, and the biggest thing is hope you and all your loved ones are safe and you have a nice time, as nice a time as you can have when the new year comes. And echoing the boys' thoughts, here's to 56. Take care.